Hey, what's up, guys? So, welcome to yet another session of Blitz Banter with me, Alex Ko. Today's opening set is going to be actually featuring the Tiger opening, but not the usual Tiger opening to Roseville, but rather Tiger opening to the Akun opening, which represents Akihiro-kun from Japan, who is also the reigning world champion from the World Othello Championship 2019. And of course, against Diagonal, I would predefine the opening set as a snake opening. And for white, against black Com Oth, or against the black Stephenson, I would actually be employing the no cone. And against the rose, I'll be using the Sealy Rose counter. So without further ado, let's aim for 20 games and let's see how we do. So this time round, I've actually implemented a scoreboard, so we'll just see how we do this time. So let's go. Okay, so playing against Miratan, we'll start off black, play the cat variation to just try to avoid dragon for now, to try to direct the opening more towards tiger if possible. And then over here, this is the Akun opening basically. And yep, we basically just try to centralize over here. Cuts into, we'll just do this line control over here. Just continue this line control along the diagonal. Let's just regroup to the center first, just sort of waiting for the opponent. So now that the opponent has chased down this excess, we'll poison it by just playing an extension to D1. Okay, next move for white is over here. We'll block it and perhaps just try to defend it. And then we'll do a line control outwards, just peeking out. We'll go for the center move and feed off the unbalanced edge. Okay, he doesn't take it. He does a very bold X square. We'll take just a quiet pocket move out. Okay, and let's probably just keep to our side and just play more like a boundary move and just sort of wait for white to break for more moves to the top right for us. Okay, I'll take this move, G3, bearing in mind that I have only 22 seconds left. Hopefully we don't time out. Okay, we'll just capture the edge. So over here is sort of like white is actually waiting for me to break into that shape. Let's just play an extreme edge play over here, just sort of sweeping it. Okay, let's see how that goes. May backfire, not too sure. Take the corner, since white has actually given that to us. Let's go for the corner. Feed off the top right first for parity perhaps, if possible. Okay, parity seems actually a little unlikely now since he's defended the even region fairly well. Okay, so unfortunately I've dropped this game. Okay, so we're basically 0-1 here. Let's go for the next one. Unfortunately, that was a loss. Probably the move over there to the edge was a bit too extreme, perhaps. Okay, now playing as white. We'll go for the perpendicular. Okay, against the rose variation. So we'll go for the Sealy Rose counter for this set of games. And instead of going for the usual book, we'll go for F7 over here. And basically just trying to maintain the center shape for now. Let's cut into the center, cross back for the excess. Okay, let's probably just take a center move over here. More of a center block shape to sort of push your opponent out of position. Let's just take a diagonal passive waiting move. Okay, opponent has played a nice move to cut for this excess. We'll just cut it back and hopefully that works. Okay, opponent has played a very nice tempo move over here. And now it's a bit difficult. We'll chase after the excess. defend this line, this diagonal line, I guess. I think I'm actually losing pretty badly right now, but let's see how that goes. Block off. And then we'll feed off the edge to the top, perhaps. Go for that poison move. Let's go jump into the center. Create a pocket space, perhaps, just for a bit of complexity in the game. Cut back. Okay, it does seem a bit challenging right now. So unfortunately, we've dropped the first two games. So let's go for the next game. Okay, against the same opponent actually. So we'll go for that same cat to tiger variation, which is a very interesting one, tiger, and go for the Akun opening. A very challenging opening, to be honest. So I really take this as practice and a bit of learning, perhaps. And then let's jump into the center. Let's create one pocket space here, and basically a bit of a feed and grab the edge kind of maneuver. And over here, let's take the edge just to mirror what the opponent has done to the top edge. So, okay. Opponent does not follow the grab edge, we'll jump out to the center. Just go for the quiet center move over here at the moment. So opponent is going for that quiet move to the bottom and also the edge. Let's feed off the edge to the left. Okay, so now things seems to be getting actually pretty tight. It's almost tough to actually get any sort of edge at the moment. We'll just jump into the center over here. Speed off the edge. Hopefully we can just try to use that pocket space to the bottom left for parity. So a little short of time here. Let's hopefully try to make up for that lost time if we can. So opponent has resigned, so that was probably pretty lucky. I think I was actually in a losing position earlier on, so that opening is definitely difficult to play. So right now it's 1-3, unfortunately. So the win rate is at 33%. Let's just try to bump it up a little bit more before we hit 20 games, and we call it a day. So hopefully all of you at home still dealing with COVID pretty well. Hopefully you just stay safe and basically wash your hands regularly and just ensure that you practice social distancing. So I believe definitely some of the guys over on the western side of the world perhaps may believe that it's not as serious. So hopefully, these guys are also right in a sense. But I think it's always better to be safe than sorry. So hopefully everybody stays safe. So right now just cutting across, getting this disc grab just to go for that quick quiet move. So right now my account is actually still fairly new, so it's at the 3Q status. Hopefully by the end of the session today we can move it up a little bit more, maybe hopefully 1 dan or 1Q. Let's see how that goes. So we're just keeping to our side as much as possible, and then okay, over here we grab the edge and okay, lucky quiet move over there to the edge. So this becomes fairly easy for us to actually close out the game. So opponent has resigned over here. So okay, so just quite lucky to get the win. So we actually move up to 2-4 for today's session. So that's a 50% win rate. So let's just try to move it up a little bit more. Definitely, as we progress up the ranks, you definitely face players who are more and more difficult. So Stephenson is a fairly popular variation, especially among the Japanese. So we'll go for the no-kong variation. And yeah, this variation over here seems to be lately quite popular by the Japanese. I'm not too sure why, but let's just cross over. Probably we can find out just by playing. And over here, it is a bit of a tough choice. Let's just regroup to the left and hopefully create some moves. So I think this position does seem very challenging because it's poison almost everywhere. So perhaps I'm beginning to see the merit of this opening variation that they're playing against the no-kong. It really does seem fairly easy for black to actually create moves. So let's just try to feed off that edge. Let's grab the edge perhaps. So he doesn't defend this, which is kind of strange. Okay, we'll go for the center move first. Maybe I should have gone for g3 instead. Oh no, I'm running out of time actually. So opponent does have a lot of time over there. We'll just try to carve out this side as much as possible. Jump out. Okay, he doesn't fall for that. He goes for the diagonal control, which is fair enough. Let's just cut into the center. He'll take this. He'll go for the corner. Just play probably the easy move to the edge and just sweep up the game. Okay, so luckily I managed to squeeze out a win despite being short of time and all. Okay, great. So we've actually promoted to 2Q. That's great. And we moved up for today's session to 3-5. So that's a 60% win rate. Hopefully we can improve further. So Nigo53 is a very interesting player. One of those players who actually always plays the same opening over and over. And he does play this Inoue opening very well. So it is usually very tough to actually get around him. Unless you play a variation. So let's just play one now and just hope for the best. He is actually very tough to play because he specializes in the opening so much. So he knows that opening so well that it's almost impossible to actually do a variation against him that he doesn't know within this branch. I'm not exactly sure I know who he is, but usually players who are so insistent on their own openings tend to be, I don't know. I'm not trying to stereotype anyone, but probably Asian and maybe highly possibly Japanese. So who knows? Yep. So right now I'm just playing a little bit more of a block shape variation, just trying to cut off his excess by forming a huge block shape. Even though it is a bit counterintuitive, even though we always talk about group small inside, you can also do that if you have a lot of this, but you ensure that you cut off all your opponent's excess so that you can still continue on that way. So the idea remains the same, it's just capturing the inside as much as possible and just maintaining that tempo. So right now just doing that, or just trying my best to do that at least. So cut off this shape over here. Okay, he's going off for this, so we wouldn't have an opportunity to grab that. Let's go for the corner perhaps for some stability, and just try to creep from left to right on the bottom edge as much as possible. Just try to grab some discs. It does seem a little challenging right now, but we managed to squeeze out some tempo over here, so that's great. And somehow managed to grab parity along the way as well, so that was fairly lucky. So that was quite a lucky win actually. So we basically move up to 4 and 6, and yeah, that's actually 66%, which is I think typically my win rate for a 5-minute game, and then slightly lower than that. I think my 5 minute win rate is actually slightly above that, and then of course my 1 minute rate win rate is probably around there, 66%. So um, yeah, let's go for that pre-planned Tiger to Akun. Okay, so he doesn't play. He plays the banana variation, which is fairly interesting. We'll take a slight variation as well. Just trying to group into the center as much as possible. Just cut off the excess. So let's cut into the center, grab this disc, go for this next move. So just jump into the center and poison that original move and try to look for pockets of spaces, perhaps for easy moves. If you can't, then just try to be flexible about it. Try to work your way around it. Okay, let's probably grab the edge to the left first because I don't think white would actually grab the edge, so there's no hurry for me to defend the edge. If white does grab it, I'll just defend it with a sort of an equilibrium edge to the top. And let's grab this side, opponent takes this perhaps. So we do this diagonal line control and force him to play towards the left. Okay, I forgot that there is actually that poison move, so right now I'm in a sticky situation. Okay, so right now let's just cut into the center. So just running out of time here perhaps. So unfortunately, we've dropped that one. Very good game by Nico, just almost timed out. So unfortunately, we've actually dropped to 4-7. So typically, when you lose a few games, you tend to sort of drift lower, perhaps. So you end up playing opponents of a slightly lower rank to sort of just balance things out. So if you do lose a few games, don't be too upset. I think it's a little bit of a rating discovery or ranking discovery for all players. So if you do lose, that's all right. Just try to work harder the next round, and of course, just focus on the next game. I think that also applies for playing in tournaments as well. So it is important to just try to reset the mind for each round. I myself have probably also been affected by previous rounds in each tournament before. So when I have a bad loss, it is understandable that it's hard to actually just tune your mindset immediately to the next game. So I think that in essence is also part of training. So that's important. So hopefully, we try not to get 2 or 3 consecutive losses as much as possible. But definitely, I probably started this session with actually 2 consecutive losses. So hopefully, we can actually get this one down. See how that goes. We just regroup to the center. Then just feed the edge with a line control. We'll grab the edge to the left. Continue grabbing the edge to the left just to maintain that inside position. Let's play a parity move actually. So this is interesting. That was a 5 square region, which I think a parity move would be doable. So not too sure how that works. Let's play a diagonal control. This is great. So we'll do a diagonal control. So that's almost like a interesting maneuver to play. And we'll try to defend the edge here. So he feeds the edge, and then we maintain this diagonal control. And of course, somehow we control this diagonal, and definitely, oh, that was a misclick actually. But that's all right. We still have enough discs to actually get through the game. So right now we move up to 5-8. So not too bad, not too bad. with that win, I'm probably gonna float up a little bit more. So hopefully we meet a stronger opponent. Okay, so we're playing against the white diagonal. So based on the preset for today, I'm gonna go for snake opening. So he plays the license opening. We'll just regroup and just keep to our side for now. Cut into the center. Cut into the center as well over here, and he takes the center. I'll grab the center back over here, and we'll take a one square gap here. Usually not very advisable, but for this opening somehow it does work out. So for the snake opening, it's usually all about grabbing the edge. So I'm not a very great edge play kind of player, but yeah, I guess that would be good training instead of to avoid playing it entirely. So we'll just play out to the center and grab one more tempo to the center. So usually it's important to actually grab the edge early on, just not to lose tempo. But in that case, I think I was fairly comfortable to actually give up the unbalanced edge to make it easily attackable. So let's try to grab this diagonal cut out. So that would be capturing the edge. And okay, let's play out over here. Just to extend, we'll go for that line control along this diagonal. So that's important to try to squeeze your opponent out of position. Okay, so opponent has played. We'll play on the back end of it using a little bit of head and tail theory per se, but basically that's a quiet move. And of course the tail end of this is another quiet move. So we've played that. Let's just play this regrouping move. And right now it's a little challenging to actually just close off the game. So that's fairly interesting. Okay, so we did manage to squeeze out a win there. Okay, so right now we're 6 and 9, so let's move on. So just spotting just below maybe 70%. Mr. Para, so that's interesting. We'll play the white no Kong opening if he plays the Stephenson. Okay, he plays the Tiger. We didn't preset over here, but we'll go with maybe the Central Rose build this time. I think usually I play the Taminori opening, so we'll play something different. So this is actually quite an interesting variation by the opponent. Usually, I think that is being played by Japanese players, so who knows, he could be a Japanese player as well. So he cuts out this way, we form that edge, we don't want to lose the tempo. Over here we can actually choose to grab the edge or move up to the top. Let's grab the edge perhaps. Just stretch across, feed off this unbalanced edge. So if he doesn't take it, I'll take it, but in this case he did take it, so we form a pair, somewhat of a pair, but it's an incomplete pair, I guess. Take a diagonal cap behind this unbalanced edge, just to prepare for the shape, to sort of like make it awkward for the opponent as well. So I can actually select to attack this potential stoner traps perhaps in the future, or unbalanced edge attacks, or basically just a force move. So he's probably going to go down this. Okay, he doesn't. We'll just feed off the edge. And right now, can actually play something probably like a floating X square, but not too advisable at this stage. Okay, let's play a floating X square over here. That should be fairly interesting. And we'll continue to fill up the gaps. Hit the stoner. Okay, there is a swindle over here, so probably got lucky there. Let's fill up the gaps for parity, and we'll hit this and just wrap up the game. Okay, lucky not to time out. So with that win, we actually move up to 7 and 10. So that's not too bad. It's a 70% win rate. Let's just play a few more, and then we'll call it a day. Hopefully, we can promote to at least 1 queue, perhaps. Not exactly sure what's the promotion criteria, but if you go to my page under this Othello Quest app, you can then see under this small little icon called Next, that indicates how many wins you must win in a row, and um, a minimum rating of how much. So for black against Ganglion, let's play the Sea Otter variation and just try that. So just cross back into the center, just go into the pocket, cut this mini diagonal control perhaps, and go for the edge for consecutive tempos. Sort of make him chase a little bit. And over here, should we play this? Let's just cut into the center perhaps. Okay, we'll feed off that edge. He doesn't take it, we'll take it. And I think we do gain a little bit of tempo to the bottom. So that's good for us. So let's grab that to the left. And we grab to the left. Strong edge, he doesn't take it. Should we take this? Let's just feed off the unbalanced edge perhaps. Not too sure if that's actually safer, but we'll grab the quick quiet move to the top. So this end, so we'll grab this edge to the top. Just extend so that we can rebalance over here. He blocks it off. We'll cut in. And basically, we can jump into the interior. He might sweep out for this disc that gives the access to the corner, but we can cut it back through this move. So we protect that. Let's defend this edge first, I guess. Okay, we probably, oh, somehow this line has been cleared, probably because of this move over here, so this becomes a swindle. So somehow that becomes a lucky position, lucky win for me. Okay, so we've promoted to 1Q, that's great. So they have this fancy certificate. When you actually get a promotion, they actually celebrate your win, and of course every milestone, perhaps for every 100 up. So yeah, there is a promotion for 1Q. I believe Othello Quest app actually celebrates all your milestones. They also celebrate every round figure wins that you get. I'm not too sure, probably every 100 wins or 200 wins, or maybe 500 wins when the number goes huge in terms of the number of games that you play. Let's move on to the next game, the 12th game. So since we've already promoted to 1Q, how the system works for the done queue is actually you go from 30Q all the way up to 1Q being the highest, and then when you finally cross over to 1 done, which is the next promotion, you then move your way up from 1 done to 9 done. So as far as I know, I think there's only one human player, perhaps in the form of demigods, who is actually a 9 done player in the system. So a lot of the top Japanese players actually occupy the top spots at maybe 8 done, 7 done. That's pretty often. So let's go for the Akun opening according to our preset opening set for today. So one of the reasons why I wanted to create this opening set for Othello Blitz Banter is just to introduce people to the idea of actually having that opening set or a fixed openings to just sort of actually just try to specialize in certain openings, and at the same time just understand the importance and the advantage that is brought about with specializing in openings. So I believe for sure, even though when you specialize in openings, you do become fairly predictable by opponents, but specializing in it does give you a slight edge, be it time in terms of thinking time or that you use for each move in the opening, or even in familiarity or how comfortable you are in that position. So if you've played it more often than others, I guess you have that psychological advantage, perhaps, if you will. Yeah. So that's one thing to consider, perhaps, for people when you play. Okay, so that was a little bit of a pre-move, unintended, but yep, since I've done it, we'll just play along with that. And okay, so feed off this unbalanced edge. Okay, he plays the poison, so if he does extend the edge, we'll play out the top edge and try to make it to our advantage, perhaps. So we have this diagonal control over here. So somehow got lucky in that position with that diagonal control and managed to win the game. We got promoted to 1 dan. That's great. So typically if you hold off the streak and you have a particular rating, it's easy to actually just promote fairly quickly, I guess. Okay, so now that we've promoted to 1 dan, let's move on. So we move up to 9 and 12. So not too bad, not too bad. That's about 3/4. So I think 75% win rate. So opponent is playing a horse opening. So typically if you go for the normal book opening down the line, the opponent tends to know the variations. So let's go for something different. So that's another strategy that you can consider adopting because you know common openings and how they are being played. The chances are that your opponent is probably fairly well prepared in that opening. So you probably want to avoid just going down to the normal variation and just try to branch out. Okay, let's go to the center. Feed off the edge. He doesn't grab the edge. We'll grab the edge. That's sort of like a tempo basic concept. Grab out this edge, sort of just form that centralized position so that the opponent actually tries to move outwards this way. Okay, let's take this move so that we can grab this. So capture this, move out. And then we can go for one more tempo here perhaps. He feeds off the top. We need to defend the edge first. So what should we do here? He doesn't have direct access. We'll cut out, remove this excess for this square. So prevention is better than cure. We'll prevent that position first. And we'll feed off this unbalanced edge first. If we completed a square, he would have that access to jump in. So we'll grab this. Actually not too sure right now. Probably playing a little too fast. Okay, we do a diagonal control here. He cuts out to the top, yes. And okay, try to defend things with parity. And okay, we get a lucky win and also a direct promotion to 2 dan actually. So that's great. Okay, so right now we've promoted to 2 dan and we move up to 10 and 13. So that's not too bad. 7 more games to go before we close off the session. And hopefully you're enjoying this session with me. Okay, so we play against MTNWN. No idea who he is, but I think he is a fairly strong player. I've seen him play. So we're going for... Okay, he's played Leader's Tiger, so typically we just wrap around. This is the easy approach. If we go out for the book variation, again, we do face a slight problem of the opponent knowing the opening too well, perhaps. So let's just try to regroup. Cut out over here. Just grab the edge first. Create a pocket space for 2 tempos. 1, 2. Okay, he doesn't take it, which is going to be a problem. Let's just grab the top edge first. And he defends the edge, gives up a quiet move here on the tail end of it. We'll grab it, and let's just defend this edge first. Take the quiet move along this stretch. This is tough, but we'll grab the edge first. Hopefully not too off with that move. Let's cut out to the edge, to the top. Defend this edge. He might play this floating. Yep, he does create 2 tempos for himself. That's a brilliant move by him. If I were to commit to that pocket space he's created, it would be a stoner trap. So that's a very beautiful move by the opponent. Very well played. We'll cut out here. Just try to get some excess. Take a quiet move, maybe to the side. More of a waiting move, perhaps. Wait for this to fill up. Insert into the pocket. Just try to wedge. Okay. Opponent has wedged. We'll go into the center since we're not afraid of the stoner anymore. Go for the pocket space. He'll cut out. Oh, I actually missed that line. I thought I had one more move here. So unfortunately, we've dropped this game. Okay, so we move into 10 and 14. Just 6 more games to go before we close off the day. Hopefully, we get a good percentage rate. Personally, hoping for at least 14 wins out of 20 if possible. If we can't, then yes, too bad. Opponents are too strong today. Okay, let's just regroup to the center. Center again. So this is also a center move, just centralizing. Let's cut out first for 2 tempos. Try to capture this one next. He cuts off the tempo. That's a pretty smart move. We'll cut it, prevent this move from happening first. Just cut it off. Okay, so now that we cannot prevent it, perhaps we can just poison it and create that excess back down. He doesn't go for it. We'll go for this to create this disc to target this. We can't go for it. We'll cut out one more time. I think he played this too hastily perhaps, so we'll go for that quiet move that he's created below. And over here, probably a quiet move here along this main horizontal stretch. So it is important sometimes in Othello to just sort of stop and wait for a while. Let's play this feed off quiet move so that we don't face the poison issue later and the opponent cannot wedge. Okay, another beautiful move by Tenga, 7+. We'll just cut into the center. Just try to create a pocket of space so that we have additional tempo to play. I actually think that in the midst of the chaos of the mid game, I actually lost out somehow during the exchanges. So let's just trade blows perhaps. Okay, we have the quiet move, so we can forcefully go for this, even though he has that potential quiet move to A7. We'll just cut off over here. Grab this. Okay, so he's actually played a very nice endgame. I think I've lost out over here. That's interesting. Very strong endgame. I think somehow the mid game wasn't to my favor during the exchanges. So we moved to 10 and 15 with the last 5 games. So I am hoping to actually target for 14 wins out of 20. Not too sure if that's possible with just 5 games remaining. Let's go for that usual cat to tiger opening as per the preset opening set. Center. And just trying to maintain the center shape at the early stage of the game to look for opportunities. Spaces to gain tempo. So right now this is more of a poisoning move. We'll just jump into the center, just waiting for perhaps some mistakes by the opponent to create openings for me to look for some easy tempo gain perhaps. Let's go for this, poison this move. He probably goes, okay, he doesn't. We'll go to the center. Grab the pockets of spaces that has opened up. So yeah, basically that's how it works. Right now, my opponent has created quite a fairly loud shape perhaps, and right now I've successfully captured the center. So you can see that it's a lot easier for me to find the open spaces as opposed to my opponent. So he doesn't grab it. I gain that edge. He actually loses quite a lot of tempo, and he has to give up the corner pretty early. So we have that edge. We have this edge and also the corner. We can sweep for this, and we just sweep a clean sweep just to dig out this interior disc. Okay, he's resigned. Okay, so we move to 11 and 16. Just 4 more games to go before we close off the session. So the target is 20 games. And I hope to get at least 14 wins. I think a 70% win rate is always something nice to just aim for. Because 70% generally means you get almost 10 out of 13 wins, which essentially if you do that in the World Othello Championships, you essentially sort of more or less guarantee your position into a semi-final spot, where you can fight for the championship. So it's always nice to actually just aim for a 70% win rate if possible. Okay, opponent is playing Rose variation. We'll go with the CD Rose counter. And grab the Iago variation. So this is quite a normal variation, I guess. It's quite common to see players play this. Okay, so this is actually quite interesting. Let's grab this prevention move from this pocket space, although he can still access it. We'll carve out this spot in the center and just try to go for that one move perhaps over here. We'll just form a diagonal cut, just maintain the center shape, grab the edge, even though this is sort of like although this is sort of a hollow unbalanced edge, but that's still fine as long as it's defendable. Okay, form that equilibrium shape to the top, where I have the choice to actually sort of just pull the trigger anytime I need to. For now, I don't think I need to do so. I'll just pull off to the side and just wait. Sort of waiting for the opponent to make mistakes and open up pockets or spaces for us to go to. So let's cut to the edge. We'll grab this to target this. Just a cleaner move, perhaps. He goes for it. We'll go for the cross back into the pocket space. We'll jump in for that easy move. Okay, let's feed off this unbalanced edge and sort of pull the trigger on that. Okay, he doesn't go for that, so that's fairly interesting. We'll grab this, and he basically doesn't have access to A4 right now, so he can actually choose to perhaps target the corner here. This is interesting. So he doesn't go for it. We'll go for that wedge over here, and then okay, so earlier towards the endgame, I didn't really play this and the best sequence for sure, but that was a little bit more on time management, perhaps. Okay, so we moved to 12 and 17. We have 3 games more to go, and of course, my target is to hit 14 out of 20 just to secure a 70% win rate, which is probably closer to a World Othello Championship semi-final level. To be honest, I did just check that 10 out of 13 is actually more closer to 77% win rate. So ideally, you want to get probably slightly above more than 70% if possible. Okay, so JDCR is a very strong opponent for sure. So let's go for that no kong variation. So this is a cut into the center. This is a side variation essentially, and basically still about maintaining the center as much as possible. We'll cut into the center over here. Take a quiet move to the right. Opponent has played a nice move. Where should we play? Probably a quiet move here against this main this main horizontal space. Cut into the center. For more moves, perhaps we'll continue to go towards the center, try to occupy that space. So feed off this edge. He doesn't take it for now. We'll just take a chip back. I probably should have taken the edge actually. Probably lost tempo there. So the opponent is very strong. Let's take this, which is rare to be the best, but just try to play that move. Form sort of like a pair perhaps, but it's almost like a edge that is still dynamic, and there are still many pockets of spaces to play to. Let's defend this edge as much as possible. Opponent plays down there. Unfortunately, he has that excess back, so that is going to be tough. I probably should have actually defended the edge, so now I'm a bit too late actually. Okay, so I timed out unfortunately, but even on the board position, I was meant to lose that one. So a very strong game by JDCR. Okay, so we moved to 12 and 18, unfortunately. So let's try to wrap up the last two games. Hopefully, we get some luck over here. So Patty Girl is actually a very strong opponent. So unfortunately for me, it's gonna be fairly tough to just try to get that win. We'll play the license opening over here from Snake, which is part of our predetermined set of openings for this time. And we'll go to the center, expecting a cutback. We'll cut it back. Opponent takes, yep, we'll go for that pocket space again. I believe one of the games earlier actually did feature the same opening. So we'll take a diagonal cut out, jump in to regroup. Okay, we'll take a quiet move to the right. And take a quiet move as well, again. Poison move perhaps for the opponent. And we'll play it out over here. So now it does seem like a slight favorable position for me. It's fairly easy to maneuver across, perhaps, with regrouping moves everywhere. So, probably a little lucky that the position has shaped up a little well. So we'll take for this quiet move and this temporary line control over here. Go for that pocket space since the opponent has established that point move to chase after the excess. Go for that pocket space. The opponent can play this, unfortunately. Okay, so we do have to just sort of rethink how to play this game. Go for this. Feed off a quiet edge, perhaps. Okay, lucky for me, I do have that edge. And okay, let's grab the edge. Chase after the bottom excess. Grab the diagonal control. So he doesn't really have excess. He will grab this. Okay, he doesn't. I'll grab it. Go for the clean sweep. So that's a lucky win for me this time round. Thank you. Okay, so we're now up to 13 and 19. So just one game to complete today's session, and definitely if I could win the game, that basically sets up the 70% win rate which I was looking for to hit during this session. So the last game, hopefully we can actually secure a fairly strong opponent and also just try to win the game. Oh, Formosa. So Formosa is actually a Taiwanese player. He's one of the top two Taiwanese players, and I think he was 7th at the last World Othello Championship. So a very strong player, even though he is still fairly new. We're going to go for that Central Rose Bill variation. So opponent has played that standard Japanese variation, which is actually very useful against the Central Rose Bill opening. So it's going to be tough for sure to just try to wrap up this game with a win. So let's just regroup over here. So the interesting thing about Taiwanese Othello players are that they're always very well prepared. So that's very interesting. So, I mean, that's definitely a plus point either way. But I think probably over preparing may not be a great thing in terms of just trying to maintain your ability to think on the sport. But I think the performance speaks for itself. They did very well at the World Othello Championship. So that's probably one thing that all of us want to consider doing. Okay, so I'm just chasing after the excess over here, and let me play a pocket move. I didn't chase for this excess down the line, so that's a bit dangerous for me right now. That's going to be a bit of a concern. Just play off the pocket move over here, wait for the excess, jump in. He probably goes for the diagonal control. Yes, he does. So we're chasing after the excess for either corners, I mean this corner, or if he does defend it, we'll grab the edge. So over here we do have that corner excess. So hopefully that works out. I think he probably made a mistake. It's definitely losing in that earlier position. So hopefully parity does come into play a little here. Okay, so we managed to somehow edge out a win over here due to parity. So with that win, we actually move up to 14 and 20, and yeah, we definitely hit the 70% target for today. So that's great. So we'll wrap up today's session, and hopefully you like today's video. It's just a very simple blitz banter video, and just featuring some of these openings. So hopefully we can all look forward to the next one where I'll just try to rotate out these openings and just try something different just to bring out a little bit of a variation. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll look forward to see you in the next one.